Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our introduction of West Virginia University's 24th head basketball coach. We are thankful and honored that you're all here with us this morning as we meet Coach Hodge and his family. Relatively brief program. We'll hear from President Gordon Gee, Vice President and Athletic Director Ren Baker, and we'll also have an opportunity for questions and answers as we move in to a new era of WVU basketball. As I said, just West Virginia's 24th head coach. Please welcome President Gordon Gee.
Well, thank you, and we're grateful to have you here, and welcome to West Virginia. We're really grateful to have you here, and we're grateful to have your family. And I see that Reed and Emery are here. You've been automatically admitted to the university because we need your tuition. So if you will, if you'll get right to work, we'd appreciate that. So it's a big day for us. I will tell you, Coach, and to your family, that there is no university that means more to a state or has a greater impact on the state than does this institution. And so, therefore, our athletic program has such an immense impact on what we are doing as an institution. It is the voice of our university. It is the voice of West Virginia. It represents the hopes and dreams of all of the people in this state and all of our diaspora, people who love West Virginia. And you'll discover that they are everywhere. You cannot escape. I've discovered that myself. And so we do want to welcome you. I want to welcome our Board of Governors who are here. They are the people for whom we all work, and they do a great job, and they are very committed to this university. I want to welcome all of our fans and those who are here because we're so appreciative of all that you do to make our university a better place. And so finally, I want to just say something about my good friend Ren Baker. You know, I've been a university president for 45 years, Coach. Can you imagine how many athletic directors I have seen? I've seen a lot of them. I've never seen a better, brighter athletic director than this guy right here. Give him a round of applause. I know you met Dr. Benson last night, so right now there are two presidents, but I'm entering the portal, so I'm getting out of here. So everyone have a great day. Thank you for being here.
So the president is in the portal. The only question is, what will the NIL be? That's going to be the big question. Gordon referred to our athletic director, our busy athletic director. Would you please welcome Vice President and Athletic Director of West Virginia University, Mr. Ren Baker.
Thank you, Tony. And Gordon accepts his NIL in bow ties, so it's cheaper than some of these point guards, Coach. I want to begin by thanking everybody for coming today to the introduction of our next head men's basketball coach, Ross Hodge. Coach, we have the best fans in the country, and it's the reason why I know we'll continue to thrive with their passion and support. I want to take just a brief moment to thank our staff members who assisted with the search process. Several of them are here today. Natasha Oakes, Ben Murray, Rob Alsop, Brian Messerly, Michael Frigale. Thank you to President Gee and President Benson. I had to check in daily with two presidents on this search. But they were both very good, very supportive, and our board is very much committed to athletics and aligned in our vision, and the leadership at this institution is the reason that our future is very, very bright. It's an honor to welcome Coach Hodge's family here today. He'll probably introduce everybody that's here, but Shelley, Emery, Reed, thank you for being here. Give them a round of applause. Coach's mother is here as well, and so he's on his best behavior. He'll introduce her. Today is a day of celebration. As Tony mentioned, we introduce our 24th basketball coach. We are one of the top 20 winningest programs in the country. We have great crowds, great support. And there's a mission here that, as Gordon mentioned, you represent 1.8 million West Virginians. It's a different calling when you take this job. In a few minutes, you'll hear from Coach Hodge, and you'll see why we're so excited to have him. But I'll talk a little bit about the process. As I outlined before we began, there were some qualities that were very important. We wanted someone of high character who will truly embrace West Virginia and our values, the passion, work ethic, grit, and determination that makes us Mountaineers. And that was evidenced last night. It was a long day yesterday, but Coach and his family were adamant they wanted to go to the baseball game. And Emory specifically requested, for some reason, to hear Sweet Caroline. So I knew that we found the right family. We obliged. Someone committed to building championship programs on the court and building leaders off the court. Someone who has knowledge and can demonstrate a plan of the complexities of running a program in today's environment, particularly with recruiting and retention in the world of NIL and the portal. Someone we can be proud of and who can embrace representing this state and our university in this program. Finally, we wanted someone that we knew would entrench themselves in West Virginia. This is a great place to live and work. It's a privilege to represent Mountaineer Nation, and we felt like it was important the next head coach and their family put down roots and truly embrace being here. I've known Ross Hodge for over a decade now. He's an extraordinary person. He's a family-first leader who's honest, loyal, possesses great integrity. He's a devoted husband and father. As we went through this search process, he talked a lot about this job, how special it was wanting to be here, but it was a different cadence, just a whole different look on his face when he would talk about his wife being from Maryland and getting to bring her home. And so we're excited for them. He is blue-collar coach. He is a blue-collar coach, coaching in places like Paris, Texas, Midland, Texas, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's a little bougie there, Coach. And Denton, Texas. Along the way, he developed a reputation for building culture and leading teams that were disciplined, hard-nosed, and great defensively. Speaking of defense, he is known for being one of the best young defensive coaches in the country. And when we spent time looking at the teams who competed at the top of the Big 12 over the last decade, they are all elite defensively. So that was a very important quality we desired. He's committed to the development of people, not just players. The young men in his program have grown and flourished, which is important to us. He displayed those qualities even in how he's handled the last few days. We really wanted to get a coach named. He wanted North Texas to be able to figure out what's next for them. But one thing that was non-negotiable is finishing out the journey with his team. And that was something that we really respected and admired throughout the process. He has great experience in rebuilding, retooling, and reloading rosters. All of his head coaching experience, which he's won over 80% of his games, was either as a junior college head coach, they've been doing that for a long time, or as a head coach in this new environment. And he was clear in his desire to plant roots and embrace West Virginians. Coach Hodge, when I took this job, President Gee told me, if you love West Virginians, they will love you back. We have found that to be very, very true. Other coaches are effusive in their praise of Coach Hodge. I spoke to dozens of coaches during this process, but I'll tell you two quick ones. I called Grant McCaslin, the head coach at Texas Tech, who's a good friend of mine and who Coach Hodge worked for. And he answered the phone, and he said, Ross freaking Hodge. And he had said that to me many times over the years when I would compliment his defense when I was the AD at North Texas, and he would just always shake his head and say, that's Ross freaking Hodge. So he answered the phone that way, and he said, hey, he's ready. You should look at Ross. But he said, you may not be able to get him to come because his daughter is a junior, and that really made me want him more, somebody who puts family first. And Emory, we're grateful that you approved the transition to be a Mountaineer. So then I called Dusty May. Dusty May's the coach at Michigan. We both knew and competed against him when he was at FAU. And he answered the phone, and he was whispering. He said, he's ready. I said, who are you talking about? He said, the Denton Flash. And I said, well, I was going to talk to you about 6 or 7 candidates I think you know. So I said, where are you at? And he said, I'm on my team plane. They had just won to go to Sweet 16, and he was whispering because he's on the team plane. And I said, well, call me when you land. So we talked about several things, but he talked about competing against Ross Hodge, and what a great coach he was, how tough his teams were, how he always thought that they maximized their ability. And he actually had a player that transferred to North Texas, and he said, I watched that player's growth this year, and he said, from afar, I admired it. He got more out of him than I could. And so that went a long ways. So I'm pleased we found a coach that checked all of our boxes. That was affirmed several times throughout the process, and certainly yesterday to see the family excited to go to the baseball game and sing Sweet Caroline. It was a very long day yesterday, but it was a great day because so many people got a chance to see him and shake his hand and see what we saw as a committee, that he's one of us. So he's a really great person, a really great coach, a tremendous leader, a devoted family man, a man of character and integrity, and we're so glad that you're here, Coach. Please help me welcome Ross Hodge.
Man, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads, man. It's an incredible honor. Thank you, Ren, President Gee, President Benson, who's not here, the search committee, Board of Governors. This is a blessing, and this is an opportunity that I certainly don't take lightly, and just couldn't put it into words. The last 24 hours getting here yesterday, getting opportunity to tour the facilities, getting to meet some of the people in this room already. And the one thing when you hear anyone talk about West Virginia, the first thing that comes out of everyone's mouth is like, you will love these people. There is not better people anywhere on this planet than the people of West Virginia, and you got a chance to see it, right away. From the moment we stepped off the plane, everybody's been so welcoming and so helpful. I also want to say thank you to Jared Mosley, the University of North Texas, the Denton community. We're there 8 years, met so many impactful people, changed our life in a lot of ways, and Ren mentioned it, and I certainly appreciated both he and Jared allowing me to finish that journey with that group of guys and that university and that program. That meant a lot to be able to do that. Family's here, talked about that a little bit. My son Reed, he's a 13-year-old. He's in the 7th grade. He'll be going into the 8th grade. Loves baseball, loves football. Played basketball a little bit this year, but he's been around it too long, and he sees me chewing on people too much. He's like, I ain't getting nowhere near a basketball court with you around. But yeah, it was awesome to get a chance to go to that game last night and just see his eyes light up at the opportunity to see high-level baseball and be part of that. My daughter Emery mentioned her. We got September 13th circled on the calendar, man. The backyard brawl at home, Pitt, and she was sending me videos of the Mountaineer version of Sweet Caroline, and we had a lot of fun with that at the house. We actually have a rule in practice. I'm not a big cursor when it comes to practice. I just think there's other ways you can motivate people without having to use that type of language, and it's nothing big. We'll just do 5 push-ups. I'll do my 5 push-ups. You knock your 5 push-ups out, and you move on to the next thing. And so the Hodge household was doing about 500 push-ups when we were listening to the Sweet Caroline version of the Mountaineer version of the Sweet Caroline. My wife Shelly, she's been part of this journey from the jump, man. People ask all the time, like, how'd you guys meet? How'd you guys get to meet each other? And I'm always, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is God. And she's a Baltimore native, close to there, and she went to James Madison, got her master's degree at East Tennessee State, and she got her first job as the aquatics director at Texas A&M University Commerce, which is in Commerce, Texas. And I'm sure you guys probably haven't heard of that. There's 4 stoplights there, and she talks about it all the time. She cried all the way there, and then she cried all the way when we left. And we met there, and she's been part of this incredible journey. And again, I was a GA when we met, and shortly after that took an assistant's job at Paris Junior College, where I made $8,000 and had a meal card and had a residency in the dorm, and we were pushed up right next to the baseball team. And anybody that's going to come, spend some time with you in a dorm next to a junior college baseball team, that's a winner right there. And I've been winning ever since. So, with that, her mom Donna's here, her brother Jim, and I think it was John Rothstein coined the phrase, West Virginia basketball, tougher than a weekend at your in-laws. And I certainly hope we reflect that on the floor, but that does not reflect my relationship with Donna and Jim. And she's been a blessing. She's been a godsend in addition to the family, and we are extremely excited to get back in this area. Shelley has so much family in the Ohio area, the Maryland area, and the Pennsylvania area. And then my mom right there, she's the toughest person I know. If there's if any description that goes towards me as far as being like a tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar, my mom worked. She worked, 3 jobs at one point in time. Drove we called them the yellow dogs, the big old school buses. And you can see my mom, she's not exactly a big lady. And so she'd wake up at 4:30 to go to the bus barn and get the bus, drive the bus, go teach at teacher's aide at the high school, and then when that was over, went to J.C. Penney's, and she'd have stretches where she'd work 20, 21 days in a row without ever taking a day off. And like I said, she's if you watch our team play and you think like, man, that's a tough team, that's a tough woman right there. And I said I wasn't going to do this time around, but when you get up here, it's different. But and then my father passed away, and he's in heaven. And what better way to get closer to him than get to almost heaven, man? So super thankful for that. And like I said, everybody's been so great, man. Got a chance to go to the Kendrick family ballpark last night and just interact with people. Coach Saban's done a great job there. Got to meet Coach Mazey, and he was incredibly welcoming, and they've done an incredible job. I've actually known Coach Kellogg since I was a player in college, and during the summers I would work basketball camps with the Dallas Mavericks, and he worked them at the same time. And he was an Austin College grad, and so to get a chance to share a facility with him and learn from him and pick his brain about what makes this place so special, and certainly want to congratulate him on the year that he's had and winning the NCAA tournament game, and we plan on being there with him very shortly. So excited for that. West Virginia basketball, it's a powerful brand. I know there's a lot of questions with finishing out our season at North Texas, and how would the recruiting go during that time period. And I can tell you, I was blown away at the power of the brand of West Virginia basketball across the entire nation. And it resonates with people. And anytime you arguably have an alumni as the most famous logo, iconic logo in any professional sports, it's something to be extremely proud of and to tap in. And I texted Ren actually when we beat Iowa State at home this year, and they wore the throwback Jerry West uniforms. I texted them that day. I was like, man, you guys got to wear those more, because those were incredible. And Coach Mazzulla, what he's doing with the Celtics, it's someone that I admire with how his ability to profess his faith on a big stage. and share perspective at a time where that gets lost. And his messaging is something that inspires me. I've shared clips with his messages with his teams to our teams, and just his overall approach to life is awesome. I can't wait to use him as a resource. Being the basketball coach here is something that I certainly do not take lightly. I have so much respect for the men that have came before me. Coach Catlett, who I did not get a chance to watch a lot of his teams, but after learning and studying, being the all-time winningest coach in the history of this program and what he meant to the state. Coach Beeline, I remember as a young coach vividly watching his teams, make those runs in the NCAA tournament and Pittsnogle, and he really was an innovator if you think about it that time offensively, the way they played the game, inverting and keeping their bigs away from the basket and posting guards, and that's something that you see a lot in basketball now, and he was really at the forward thought process of that. And then Coach Huggins, had the opportunity to I was a junior college guy, and so Coach Huggins always did such a good job of recruiting junior colleges at all his stops, and had so much respect for him, and got the opportunity to compete against his team in 2021. Obviously, it was the post-COVID year, so we did not get a chance to see the Coliseum full. Probably it was good for us that wasn't the case. And we did. We actually had an 8-point lead at halftime. We were up 29-21, and so we come into halftime, and we're walking about on the floor, and I'm using the restroom, and I turned to our video coordinator at the time. His name was Louie, and I said, "Louie, you're about to see an avalanche on the offensive glass like you've never seen in your entire life." And sure enough, to start the second half, there were 10 bodies inside that little charge arc. All the guys in black jerseys were getting mushed under the basket, and all the guys in white jerseys were grabbing rebounds and putting it back in. And obviously, he's as good as it gets when you talk about playing with edge and toughness and competing. But one thing I distinctly remember, and I honestly I can remember sitting in my living room, and it brought tears to my eyes when I saw it, and in a lot of ways it still does touch me emotionally. In 2010, when Deshaun Butler tore his ACL, and Coach Huggins went out on the floor, and you could see the love and the compassion that he had for his players, and that's a side you probably don't get to see very much in coaching, but ultimately, that's why you are a successful coach. Yes, you got to hold people accountable. You got to get people to do things that they didn't think they could do, but there's a baseline love and care that that you get out of those guys. And I'll never forget, Coach Huggins kneeling down there, and both those guys were shedding tears. And it's something that inspired me and taught me, even for someone that's perceived to be, a tough coach and super demanding and pushing more than you think you can push people possibly to do, that there can still be a love and compassion element behind it. I think anytime, if you're going to win championships at this level, coaches can win games, but administrations win championships. And Coach Gee said it best. I don't think there's a better athletic director in the country than Ren Becker, and his vision for modern college athletics and being progressive with so much of the change, but still being able to be rooted in old-fashioned values and connecting people and understanding that you win with people. And ultimately, he will be the reason why we're able to compete and win championships. And I'll just be a small part of that. The fan base is incredible. We got a chance to witness it not only last night, but even through our stretch run, and we were playing Oklahoma State that night, and it wasn't officially done yet, but it had started looking like it was going to be that way. And we had a 9-point lead with a minute, and barely got out of the building, and I thought there for a second I was going to be the only coach in the country to simultaneously get crushed by 2 fan bases at the same time. But I love it. That's what I want. we have very high expectations. Nobody's going to have higher expectations than myself and our staff and our players, and we welcome it and we appreciate it, and we felt the love from the moment we've stepped off this plane and even before. I don't know if many of you guys are familiar with Ken Palm or Ken Pomeroy. It's an analytics site that a lot of college basketball coaches use just for analytics, data driven metrics, and it ranks home court advantages, 1 through, I guess there's probably 365 now, 366, it changes. And so this is data driven. This isn't really opinions. This isn't what somebody thinks. And West Virginia has the #1 home court advantage in the country. And I can't wait to see that place full. And its home courts are real. They're powerful. They're matter. And I've always said if it's worth a basket, then it's worth everything. And I can't wait to see that. The Morgantown community, we love mountains. We love rivers. We love lakes. There's something about being in the mountains. I told Ren this when we were talking. There's something spiritual about it. And I grew up in and out. Grew up in the country and then grew up in the city in Dallas. Kind of my formative years. I was in high school. It was more city, and so I'll be the first to admit I wasn't someone that was big, hunter, fisher. Hadn't spent a lot of time in nature, but one thing that was awesome about our opportunity to be at Colorado State was the opportunity to get connected and go on hikes and spend times in the mountains, and it lets you know that there is something much bigger than you out there, and there really is something divine about spending time in nature, and my family loves that, and we can't get the opportunity to do that. So, with that being said, the first time I got to do one of these, they told me I had 6 to 8 minutes. I went for about 25. I'm not going to do that quite this time. But, again, when you talk about, our program, what has been makes it go, why have we been able to be successful, and it's simply put, it's people. And, I had a chance to meet these young men yesterday, our student assistants up against this wall, and I told them, they are the reason why we've won championships. They are the reason why you win. They are the lifeblood of a program, and something that we consistently talk about and share amongst our program is everyone has equal value. Everyone has equal value. No one's more important than anyone else, myself included. Now, we all have different roles, and you do have a leading scorer, and you do have a leading rebounder. But your leading scorer and your leading rebounder are no more important than your 15th man. And we live in a world, unfortunately, now that likes to assign value to what you can do. And I fight every day for our players to understand that your value is not weighed in your ability to put a basketball in the basket or grab a rebound. That's part of it. That comes with it. But who you are as a person, who you are as a son, the man that you long to be when it's your time to be a father and lead your household is significantly more important than anything you can do on a basketball floor. And we treat everyone that way, and ultimately you win with people. And we'll get the right people in place, and we'll get people in place that you guys will come to love and come into respect. And you get everybody moving in the same direction, even in a time period in college athletics that has been difficult. There's a lot of change. It's hard on fan bases. It's hard on people that have been, watching college athletics for a long time. And I don't envy any of you. I don't blame anybody for being frustrated with the changes in the landscape. But I do believe that you can still find a way to make this non-transactional, and you can still make it relational, and you can do it in a quick time, and you can get players and staff invested in a university and in a state and in a program, and you can connect them in a way that's impactful, that will impact them for the rest of their lives. If you're going to win the Big 12, you got to be one of the best defensive teams in the country. Ren mentioned that. If you look historically who's won the Big 12, the years that Kansas was winning the Big 12, they had the best defense in the league. As we all know, who's had the best defense in the league the last couple of years is still playing. we plan on being one of the best defensive teams in the Big 12, which makes us one of the best defensive teams in the country, which gives us an opportunity to play extended basketball in March. And the last 8 years, the team with the best scoring defense in the country was foreshadowing was Houston, and number 2 was North Texas, 1 and 2 in the country the last 8 years. And we certainly plan on bringing that style of basketball and that brand to here. You're not always going to shoot it best. You're not always going to have your best offensive nights. But if you'll get down there and you'll be committed to defending, you'll always have a chance. You'll always have a chance to win. It's a great honor. It's a great privilege to be the head of this program. That's something I want our players to understand, to whom much is given, much is expected. And given the opportunity to wear a West Virginia uniform is something that none of us will take lightly. Like I said, it means so much to this state, to this region, and to this university. And with that being said, I'll leave it at this. To all my former players at any stop, Paris Junior College, Texas A&M Commerce, Southern Miss, Colorado State, Arkansas State, North Texas, I love you guys. You're all a part of this. You're the reason that I'm standing here today. And I'm so incredibly grateful that God has put me in this position to be the leader of this program. And I'll work hard every day to make everybody proud to be a West Virginia Mountaineer. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Coach. We are going to do question and answer now from media members, and we begin with Coach Hunter.
So, Ren, start with the search a little bit. Obviously, you had a lot of candidates that I'm sure you were interested in, but what was it ultimately about Ross? And did you notice him as, when he was assistant, sort of ID him as a guy that eventually would be a major head coach?
Yeah, I did. He and Coach McCaslin have a very special bond and relationship. And, you know, at North Texas, I was able to be around a lot with those guys. As you know, I have a background in basketball, so I like to be around all the sports, but basketball is the one that I probably have the most knowledge of how it's being built and how it fits together. And so I did know how much Grant relied on him, and watched him there. And it's interesting. He had multiple chances to leave there for high major programs that paid him a lot more money. But he was loyal then and stayed, and we had great conversations, great relationship, but I always knew he was a great coach. I love coaches who've done it at hard places and who've won at a really high level, and certainly that's in his background. So yeah, he's always someone I admired and respected. I knew the role he played at North Texas, knew that we didn't have a head coach designation because I lived through that earlier in my career, and I kind of feel like, hey, you can do that when it's time to do it. But always, in my mind, had Grant left, that was probably where we would go with it there. And then, of course, I've been able to watch them since then. So, and just the kind of person he is, the way he leads programs, the way I think even Mike Kazazza snuck up to the NIT to get a leg up on everybody. He's out hustling, so he got a chance to watch a little bit of Ross's interaction with his player and coaches. There's a relationship there that is very deep and very meaningful, and I always respected that as well.
Ren, you talked about a coach that puts down roots. Coach, you're aware that the previous coach did not put down roots. What kind of commitment beyond the contract can you make to being here longer than a year?
They don't call him hard-hitting Hoppy for for nothing.
Yeah, this move was not an easy move for me. I'll be perfectly honest. We talked a lot as a family. We shed a lot of tears. We had deep, meaningful relationships, in Denton. And that's something that's very important to us. Is obviously I'm a basketball coach. That's what I'm paid to do to win games, to win championships. We understand that, but people are important to us, and it's not something that we take lightly. Put it like that. Moving a family, there was probably only a handful of situations that we would have even considered. Again, leaving my family there in Texas, that's where I'm from originally, and have so much immediate family, but the opportunity to get Shelly back close to her family as well is something that's very important to us. And Ren mentioned it. Me personally, I had several opportunities to leave when I was an assistant at North Texas for what some people would say were bigger and better opportunities at bigger brands, higher levels, more money, and ultimately that's not necessarily what I'm interested in. I'm interested in people and being in a place that we can call home.
Ross, what areas do you feel comfortable recruiting in? Obviously, you're from Texas. What areas do you feel recruiting?
Yeah, I really feel comfortable recruiting nationally. Obviously, the landscape has changed with the transfer portal. And, even being a junior college coach, and I can weave this into a story if everybody will allow me to bore them. But when you were a junior college coach, there was always an East Coast trip that you went on every year. And you would start in D.C., you'd end up in Baltimore, you'd go to Philly, you'd go to New Jersey, you'd go to New York, and then you'd go back home. And that was about a week and a half swing. And Shelly and I, had just really started, dating seriously. And so Shelly was like, you can stay, with Donna. Donna lives there in Baltimore. So I kind of made that my hub, my home base. And so I would go recruit a little bit, come back, go recruit a little bit, come back. And so, and again, I still have my boyish good looks, but I actually have been doing this for a while. That's what I always remind my team. I've been standing in front of teams for 21 years. And so this was still a time period where there was VHS cassettes. And I came back one night, and Donna had recorded the Dallas Mavericks and San Antonio Spurs, like Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. And I was like, this is going to work. This is going to work. But, that background, junior college background, 6 years, you're recruiting all over. Even if you look at our roster there, at North Texas, since we've been there, we've had players from the East Coast, we've had players from New York, players from Philadelphia, players from Florida, players from Africa, players from everywhere. So it's about relationships, and we'll work really hard to improve the relationships that we don't have and meet new ones. And but again, West Virginia, the brand is powerful, and it resonates across the country.
So Ren talks a lot about the lineage of this program and just making sure everyone's aware of it, even if maybe there's been downtimes and some things going on recently. And obviously Ren talked about Dusty May and other coaches that have gave you the stamp of approval. But just for any detractors out there or anyone that would say that you only were a head coach at the D1 level for 2 years and you haven't coached an NCAA tournament team, these fans don't want 3, 4, 5 years missing the tournament. Why do you feel you're ready for this now beyond what Dusty May would say? And why do you think you're suited to handle the pressure of, it's not your fault they missed the last 2 years, but the fan base wants in right now in year one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've been really fortunate, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it much during my speech, but I've been really fortunate to work for some elite coaches. Larry Eustace was AP coach, national coach of the year. He won the Big 12 twice in a row, regular season at Iowa State. Grant McCaslin, in my opinion, is one of the best coaches in the country. Even dating back to my younger time period, Bill Foy won a national championship in junior college. Sam Walker was the all-time winningest coach at Texas A&M Commerce. And so I've been really, really fortunate to be around coaches that, really mix it all together. And, Coach Eustace was the master in simplicity. His teams were so incredibly tough. They weren't going to turn the ball over, and they were going to get back every single time on defense. And it's like, that's what it was. We didn't spend a lot of time with like trying to score on a baseline out of bounds or run this tricky play. Like his tricky play was, we're going to go rebound every time this ball goes up, and we're going to go grab the ball with two hands, and we're going to put the ball in the basket. And I've been really fortunate to work along and with those guys and be part of NCAA tournament teams as an assistant and be part of teams that won games in the NCAA tournament. And I've had an opportunity to look at it from afar, and I do know what it takes. I'm not confused on that. It's something I'm very confident in, and I do have an inordinate amount of confidence in the people that we'll put in place from a staffing standpoint, that we can get the players that can do what we need to do to put them in position to get back to the NCAA tournament. And unfortunately, in this time period of college athletics, there is some detractors, and there's a lot of negatives that people talk about. But one of the positives is when you do take over a program like we're taking over that maybe hasn't been in the NCAA tournament in a couple years, you do have the opportunity to revamp it and do it quickly.
What led you to play the way you play? What was there things that you said, well, this is the way we have to play?
Well, we talked about it earlier. Again, historically, if you look at the teams that win this time of year, it's because they're rooted in defense, and especially in the Big 12. It's not surprising at all. Like I say, you can look it up. The teams that have had the best defense, when Kansas was winning the Big 12, they were the best defensive team in the league. Houston's won the Big 12 recently. They've been the best defensive team in the league. And I always worked for defensive-minded coaches. Coach Foy, my junior college coach, who I also worked for, he was an Indiana guy. He graduated from Indiana, so he was a Bob Knight, like so many of the people coming from that region that time of the year. So that was his deal. And I wasn't a great player, I was okay. But there was a certain amount of like grit and toughness and competitiveness and fight that I had to show up with in every single day, knowing I wasn't going to like out athlete anybody. And so I think some of it was born from my playing days and the guys that I worked for, and then just being committed to giving our teams the best chance to win and win consistently. And what we've been able to do over the last, not only has our scoring defense been really good, but we've went back and forth with Houston for having the best road winning percentage in the country the last 8 years. And if you're going to win on the road, you better be tough, you better be physical, you better be able to defend, and then you better have elite guard play. And we've had some of the best guards in the country.
Sorry. Go ahead. We'll do this one.
Coach, can you just talk about what last week was like? How did you balance your commitment to your North Texas players with getting started here? Like, what were you able to do for West Virginia? And then just because the portal had been open, do you feel at all it's put you behind schedule, or do you feel good about where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, you're a coach, and I would think your job is to not ever feel really good where you are. But ironically, and I talked about this a little bit at the NIT, if the job change hadn't have happened, and I was coaching North Texas, there's a good chance that 85 to 90% of that team, like President Gee, was going to be in the portal or out of eligibility. We may have had one or two players back. That's the reality of modern college athletics, and I know it sucks. I know it sucks for fans. I know there's no other way for people that grew up watching Mountaineer basketball, and you were able to kind of watch a freshman and turn them and see them grow in from a boy to a man. And I still think you can do that, but they are going to be fewer and far between. I call them unicorns. But so whether it was us or if you're like Florida or Houston or any of those teams still playing, you were going to spend probably, if you're making it a pie, you were going to spend 30% of your time preparing for your games. The other 70% of your time, you were going to be recruiting the portal, and you were going to be making phone calls, and you were going to be trying to line up visits. And so I know it's probably like, especially for the traditionalists, it's probably like kind of weird, but I wasn't doing anything different than what I would have been able to do if I wasn't here or if I was still there. You know, we were preparing for our games when we had to, got an incredible staff. Those guys are tremendous. And then we were working the phones and, you know, trying to line up things for after the dead period. It goes dead today, so you're not really missing you can't have any visits, and you can't go recruit from now until I believe next Friday. So you're not really missing much in that regard. So to answer your question, it didn't feel that different. You know, you were just you were making recruiting phone calls, and you're talking about West Virginia basketball and how incredible this is and the opportunity, and there's a lot of excitement around it, and we'll hit the ground running here, you know, next week.
Up top, Kevin.
Coach, your defense obviously gets a lot of well-deserved credit. Offensively, are there things that you like to do? Are there things that fit well with, you know, what you do on defense? That, you know, similar players, similar skills. What are your ideas there?
Yeah, you are right, and our defense does get a lot of attention. It's talked about the most. And one thing that doesn't, you know, get talked much, and I kind of have to remind people, we did have, when I talked about like KenPom, which is a way of measuring efficiency, we did have the second best offense in our league out of 14 teams. Our defense gets all the attention, rightfully so, but we were an extremely efficient offense. If you look at the last 2 years, we've had one of the best three-point percentages in the entire country. You know, what wins basketball games? You know, trying to take care of the ball, sharing the ball, playing the right way, playing for each other, the right guys taking the right shots at the right time. And I think it's a misnomer, you know, a little bit that again, our tempo, it gets pointed out. It's been used against us negatively at times in recruiting. And then I always say, but you know who's one spot above us in tempo? Houston. And they're winning championships. And, you know, that's the ultimate goal. And we've had players offensively. Every year that we've played, even last year and this year, we've had individual players do things that they've never done and break school records. You know, Atten Wright this year, he was 15 points a game last year on an NCAA tournament team. And then this year he made 25 more threes for us than he did for them last year.
Ross, you talked about assembling a staff. You know, do you have a timeline on that right now? And what characteristics are you looking for guys you're going to bring in to help?
Yeah, good question. Not necessarily like I'm not putting myself on a timeline. Again, there's an incredible excitement around this program, and there's not a shortage of people, you know, that would love to come be a part of this. Obviously, I will bring some staff members from North Texas, and just kind of evaluating it all. You know, when it's kind of putting a puzzle together. So you're trying to put fits and personalities that can, you know, ultimately, you know, magnify my strengths and help me on my weaknesses. And when you talk about what type of characteristics, just people that love other people that want to serve these young men that we get to be around every day and impact them in a way, and understand that the best way for all of us to have individual success, even as staffers, is winning. And the more you win, the more opportunities we all get.
You mentioned analytics as well. How big of a role does that play for you? And, you know, how much do you base around that?
Yeah, it's definitely a tool. It's not the Bible, you know, per se for me, but it's certainly a tool that we use, and a lot of times it can be a way to reinforce what you think you're seeing on film. I'm still one of those guys. I usually like to watch the film first, garner my own thoughts, and then use the analytics and the data to back up what I'm seeing. And then, you know, maybe you go back and, you know, revisit some things based on the data and the analytics. And certainly a great resource and a great tool, and it's very helpful.
Coach, you mentioned the emphasis on road games, playing on the road in your past stops. How do you feel the AAC has prepared you for a Big 12 road schedule?
Yeah, there's kind of a saying in coaching, the best league in the country is the one you're coaching in. And, I have so much respect for the Big 12, so much respect for the coaches in the Big 12, and we kind of have an internal saying amongst ourselves and our players, like we respect everyone and we fear no one. And every time we, lace them up and step on a floor, the opponent's going to have our full respect, no matter who it is. If you step in between those lines, there's a certain level of respect that you've earned, and it gets magnified. Obviously, you're playing against really good teams, really good players, really good coaches, road environments, and I think there's a togetherness that you have to go into those environments with, and a willingness to stay together. Play through runs, play through adversity, and legitimately play for each other. If you go into those games and you're kind of playing to play good, or you're going into this game and you're, as a player, thinking, hey, I want to go in here and score 20, you usually play pretty poor. And if you just can lose yourself in the competition and lose yourself in the mindset that we're going to play for each other, it gives you an opportunity in those road environments.
How much input do you want to have on building the non-conference schedule? Ren's talked a lot about schedule building and how that's a part of what is looked at, whether it be Ken Palm or analytically or even the committee and their opinions. How much say-so do you want to have in what tournaments you're in, how that looks like before you get into the Big 12 schedule?
I certainly want it to be a collaborative effort, and I'm involved in it. Ren made mention yesterday, and we ain't going to do this, but historically we've been one of the last teams in the country to finish our non-conference schedule at North Texas as well. But we won't do that here. But I do think there's it's an art form. I don't necessarily know if there's like a direct science to it. You got to be willing to have some patience and try to get the games that you want to get that make the most sense for your university. Obviously, you have an incredible opportunity in Big 12 play for Quad 1 wins, and you get so many of those organically built in. But you want to be smart in your non-league, and you want to challenge yourself in your non-league, and that's one thing that we've really done, historically in the past, even at a place like North Texas. We want to challenge ourselves in the North. We want to prepare ourselves for the rigors of the Big 12. You can get a little bit of a false sense of security if you're not challenging yourself, and you don't get to find out about yourself. And even if that means if you have an early setback or two, as long as it's the right game and the right team, it doesn't hurt you as much as it provides an opportunity to help you.
Ross, moving to a larger school, larger conference, kind of expanded resources, what does that give you as far as ideas or even positions for scouting, portal recruiting, high school recruiting that you can provide that maybe you couldn't before?
Yeah, there's no question about it. When you were evaluating this opportunity, that was a big part of the allure, is the opportunity to take care of players and put players in position to reap the benefits of what they've earned at this level and the resources that you have. Our practice facility situation and locker room situation is as good as anybody's in the country. I was blown away. And the vision to have that thing built, 12 years ago? But to be able to have that vision to build something 12 years ago that still looks like it was built yesterday, and that's something you can really sell. And that's part of the job, and that's part of the adjustment for everybody in the landscape, and it's something you've got to be committed to from a rev share standpoint. Obviously, there's a lot of eyes on the house settlement coming down here in the next week or two that can change some things again, but that's certainly part of the landscape of college basketball now. You have to be able to do those things to be competitive.
Coach, you've mentioned Houston a couple of times. For the style you want to play, are they sort of, especially this year, are they sort of the benchmark that everybody's chasing?
I would think it just wouldn't be us that's chasing them. I would think anybody else that wants to be in the Final Four would certainly take a hard look at it. But I have a lot of respect for Coach Sampson, a lot of respect for all the coaches in the Big 12. And there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, obviously. And I don't think you have to be married to one certain ideology, especially in this time period. And it gets back to kind of, ironically, it does shift to like a junior college model where you have your core philosophy foundations that you know, like, this is what's important to you and how you want to win, mainly people, and the fact that they love playing basketball and love people and can sacrifice for others. But then I don't think you can be too stringent on every team's going to be a little different. Every team's going to have certain strengths and weaknesses, and we've had elite defensive teams throughout these years, but sometimes we've had teams that were really good at defending the three-point line, and then the next year maybe we weren't great at defending the three-point line, but we were elite at guarding twos, or maybe we turned people over a little bit more. And I think you got to do it the same way offensively. It's all about how can you find a way to put your best players in position to be successful, and you can't just be rigid. My wife is a yoga instructor and Pilates, and she's taught me a lot through the years. And one thing she's taught me is that in the storms, we had a tornado warning last night, but in the storms, it's the flexible trees that survive storms. You know, the stiff, rigid trees, they break under storms. So you got to have some flexibility. You got to be able to evolve, and you can't be so stubborn in a certain way that this is how we're going to do things outside of, you are going to play extremely hard. We are going to play together. We're going to play for each other, and there's going to be a connectivity amongst the group.
All right. Coach, Ren, thank you all very much. Coach will be around for a little bit. We appreciate everyone coming up. President Gee, Ren Baker, thanks, and it is a great day to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be. Thank you, everybody.